Good morning. I hope this is recording right. My little my little pup just burped. I think I startled him. So I'm getting used to this new mode of putting my wake up call out there, which is recording myself, recording my wake up call routine. It's something I started a year ago because I needed to practice better habits. I needed to basically get out of a cycle of bad habits. And that's what the theme of today is all about. Um, I have a wake up call process. It's the 4 P's. I start with a positive affirmation. P2, I reflect on that positive affirmation. And P3 is productivity, where I do something that needs to be done, like pay bills, laundry, dishes, right? You know, the things that need to be done. And P4 was to spend a little time with my physical well-being. I wasn't making time for that. So I incorporate those 4 P's in my morning routine. And it has made a life-changing difference in my perspective and how I feel about life. I'm much happier. I feel healthier. I feel stronger. So I wanted to share my process with you. I started with just writing in a 3-ring binder, good old-fashioned handwriting. I haven't done that for a long time. And I used that mode for about a year. And then after going through 3 spiral notebooks, I decided I want to put this to print, and I started using Google Docs. And then the next step was, it seems to kind of naturally transition into a blog. And I am on day 46 of my blog. Then the next step was, well, I'm going to put it out there even more and start offering it on YouTube. And here we are. So today I'm going to start with this was my positive affirmation I chose this to look at and to go deeper into, which was on 3/24/2024, so a year ago. And this is what I chose: deepen your compassion for the messy structures of other humans. Okay, that is the beginning. That is the first slide, and I'm moving things around. Hopefully it's still recording. Okay, so now I'm going into the date, which was 3/23. It was the day before, and this was my first actual wake-up call entry. And I chose, know the unknown, hear the unheard, see the unseen. This was found on my Yogi Tea tag. And for me, what came up was I felt unheard. I felt unseen for a very long time. And I was spiraling in this, um, just, I guess, insecurities was the right way to put it. I was feeling insecure, and I was using alcohol to numb myself. I was still working. I was still very functional in my relationship with my children. Um, I still had a lot of good in my life, but I wasn't feeling good about myself. I knew I could do better, and that I need to make a change. So that's what I did. And I wanted to change the bad habits by creating a platform where I could practice good habits or better habits. And um, within this, I was able to focus on my book that I've been writing for a couple of years and start editing and kind of narrow down my focus, because it became this just hodgepodge of so many different experiences. And even though the book helped me feel heard or feel seen, it was starting to become this, like I said, this mess of too many voices, too many experiences. So I wanted to hone in on a couple lessons learned. And that's what I think happened through this regular practice of my wake up call. So, so the second step, the P2, that is the where I was reflecting on my positive affirmation, and it later became more about perception, how I perceived my my relationships, my experiences um, in my life, and really trying to dig deeply into why I felt the way I felt about things, because I was feeling misunderstood and unseen. Okay, I'm just going to read straight from this slide, which is the above journal was a 3-ring binder, as I mentioned, was my actual first day of my wake up call routine. You may be wondering why I needed a wake up call, or to make it more explicit, a slap in the face. The answer will unfold as authentically as possible throughout my blog. Humbly, I was stuck in a spiral of bad decisions, and my self-esteem and sense of self-efficacy was eroding to being stuck in survival mode, or what I called zombiedom. I was numbing myself from the pain of all the betrayal, loss, and unfairness that life can bring sometimes. I was getting lazy and taking the easier way out. Not all the time, but enough to make me feel out of control of my own thinking and actions. I felt like I was on autopilot, just coasting along at the will of some unknown force. Maybe I was coping through denial or apathy, but I do know I wasn't happy or healthy. I felt ungrounded for so long. I needed a hard slap in the face. So I decided I needed the wake up call. And hence my wake up call routine was born. Have you ever felt trapped inside some unknown emotional, psychological, or behavioral bad habit? Maybe you have told yourself you're not worthy of feeling happy, or that you can't trust anyone in your life to be there for you. I think we all have. And that is natural. But the problem lies in allowing these negative, self defeating thoughts become our working mindset, and they become a bad habit. They become a way of thinking that is not helping us move forward or not be the best versions of ourselves. So I kept going on my wake up call. I was very diligent about it. And on day 3, which was 3/28/2024, I chose to look at my Sacred Path cards. I had these since I was a teenager, 40 years ago. I came across these cards back in my late teens, and they became a source of positive information that helped direct my thinking and to feel strong. And so the Sacred Path card I chose on this day was Sundance. It was card number 6. And it talks about what needs to be sacrificed so that the sacredness of our lives may be restored. Bad habits limiting our capability need to be conquered. Your shadow is always ready to be sacrificed. If you have learned from dancing with the darkness of ignorance, you will learn what is no longer sacred in your life. Then the sacrifice becomes your truth. You are being asked to give up something in order to stand in the truth of your convictions. This really hit home for me. I needed a change. I had I had lost my connection to the spiritual side of myself and of life. Um, So this card really helped to change my perspective, to remind me that that I matter, that I can, and that I have in the past focused more on the positive and not just stay in this survival mode, kind of scarcity mindset that I was in for so long. So I went on to reflect, and it seems my slides are allowing me to go back and forth, but here we are. We have, so this is my reflection, or my P2. When I pulled this card almost 2 years ago, on day 2 of my wake up call, I had not yet established P2, which is perception, P3, productivity, or P4, physical. But how amazing it is and was to choose a card that spoke directly to my need to restore the sacredness of my life by conquering my bad habits. Bad habits are not necessarily overt or outward manifestations, such as alcohol abuse, but inner feelings of self loathing or disappointment. I was disappointed in myself for taking an easier way. The struggle I felt more deeply was my negative or scarcity mindset that was causing me to feel depressed. My shadow was telling me I wasn't worthy of a happy life. So the next day, I chose another positive affirmation, and this was on 3/24/2025. And it said, deepen your compassion for the messy structures of humans, of other humans. This hit home again. And I went on to give myself that same gift of compassion that I would give others in my life, my children, my husband, my friends. And it softened some of the pressure I felt um, within my expectations of myself. I guess I was losing that trust that I could do what needed to be done to be able to have a happier life. So I went on, and by just keep doing this wake up call process, I was building that trust with myself and that sense of self efficacy. So I knew eventually the effort became less burdensome because it became more of a habit. And I got used to doing this wake up call, and I began to feel seen and feel heard. Even if it was just me, I was hearing myself, that cried for help. And I started believing in myself again. And it was such a great feeling. So that's why I'm offering this, or sharing, not offering. I'm sharing my experience with you in hopes that it encourages you to believe in your process. So I wrote a year ago, the positive affirmation I chose this morning was once again timely and reminded me to accept that this blog, this is where I started before recording, isn't about showing how organized or how put together I can appear, but just the opposite, that life is messy. My objective of putting my wake up call process out there is to be seen, heard, and to be courageous about it. I'm doing this to let my shadow know it can't control me. And in doing so, with this blog, I am winning the war in my mind that I am worthy. I can create a happier and healthier life if I just keep reinforcing healthier habits. So, P3, productivity, says I'm off to work. I am a first grade teacher. Also, this blog counts as productivity for the day. And finally, P4, it's that I'm going to do my Zumba class, my first Zumba class in 10 years tonight. And I'm very nervous. But again, I am worthy of spending time with myself. And that's what I intend to continue to do. So thank you for listening today. Please make any comments. I'm open to both constructive criticism, if that's what you feel like sharing, or also I'm open to positive feedback, of course. So love to hear from you in the comments. And thank you for spending the time to listening to this recording. I do appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.